Okay, hey, yeah, welcome everyone to SCG Weekly, episode 141. 141, and we're covering R-Type, the classic, the competitor of Gradius, Nintendo versus Sega, Gradius versus R-Type. The parallel has been made, SCG Weekly. So yeah, welcome everyone to the show, and we'll be talking about a 2-all, 1 critical replay today with player and guest Dumple-chan, who is here. Welcome, Dumple.
Hi, everybody.
Yep, welcome again, and I'm being co-hosted today by GG Maximo as well.
What's up, everybody?
Yep, so it should just be a classic episode with the classic R-Type and a sweet 2-all, 1 critical replay. It is a 2-all, indicating that the game is completed in 2 loops. It stops there, right? There's no more loops than that?
Yeah, there's 2 loops and then it ends.
Okay. And so we'll be, debunking the myths of, this is a memorizer and everyone hates it and no one can beat it because they can't have the patience to go through it again. Well, there is that. I mean, that is how the game's designed, but I'm sure Dumple-chan will have some comments about the difficulty and just how difficult it was to learn the game and kind of what it takes to clear the game. And I was talking with Dumple before we aired that he was getting into this for the 1cc marathon, which is an arcade marathon that has happened, I think, what, 3 times, right?
Yeah.
And you were practicing. You gave them R-Type as a game to 1 credit clear. So did you do a 2-all in that marathon, or was that just a one credit clear or a one loop?
Yeah, in the marathon, it was just the 1 credit clear. When I was practicing, I figured, I'll practice the second loop because if I can clear that reliably, then I'll be absolutely set to do it on the marathon under pressure. It's like some anime character with super heavy weights as he runs. And I got good enough that I finally went for the 2-all just a little bit before the marathon.
Oh, that's cool. I like marathons, like, for that reason. Sometimes it's a good motivator to really get you going on some stuff. Like, I felt that same way when I was practicing Gradius 4 and Armed Police Batrider. Like, I had to get back into those games, and it was just, yeah, those marathons are just really fun just because they're a fucking arcade game, 1 credit clear. So, yeah. But, yeah, a little bit more about R-Type and yourself. So how'd you get into R-Type originally, and do you have any... You wouldn't have any memories of seeing R-Type in an arcade or anything like that, would you?
I saw it in the arcade and never really played it back in the arcade days. Mm-hmm. First time I really tried it was 2007 or so. I started playing it through MAME and just sort of bounced off of it. I save stated through it, but didn't really get the hang of it. And it wasn't until years and years later that I started practicing up and getting the hang of shmups in general, and then R-Type in particular.
Is there any reason you gravitated towards this game? Is it the iconic, is the iconicness of the history of the game, or is it just? Is it the Geiger artwork and that type of stuff?
Yeah, the theme is really cool, and the soundtrack is really well done. It's also just a titan of a game that inspired so many others, and I actually kind of like the memorizer factor. So I do better at games where you can learn the route through, and then once you know how to play the song, you know how to play the song.
That's right. Yeah, there's a bit of consistency that comes with this type of gameplay too. So I guess it's kind of like a double-edged sword there, but the double edge is actually a good thing.
Yeah, there's really only one important piece of RNG in the run, and I guess we'll get to that when we get to it. Okay.
What else did I want to mention there? But yeah, so R-Type, the main feature is that your ship has, would you call it the Force? Is that what it's technically called?
Yeah, the Force pod it'll attach to either the front or the back of your ship, and then you can use the second button to fire it off. It'll fly out. It does a lot of tick damage to anything that it's touching, and it protects you from normal bullets, just not from lasers. So it's really important both for offense and for defense, and it's just the iconic new thing in this game that got copied in a lot of other games.
It did, yeah, it really did. You see, the Force in a lot of other games. I mean, ZXX kind of comes to mind right now when I think of that's like Konami's R-Type, and they had like the Force, but the Force could have tentacles on it, and the tentacles blocked bullets. Like I thought that was so cool. But
yeah,
we'll talk about ZXX another time, I suppose. Okay, so why don't we get ready to watch your replay then? Do you want to preface your run at all, and beyond kind of the preparation you had to do for the 1cc marathon? Is there anything I
guess I'll just say, yeah, so it's a 2-all without auto fire. That doesn't really make that much difference in this game, but there's a couple places where auto fire would help at least a little bit. And I referred back a lot to other runs by Pericles and by Jamers while I was routing this through. So, yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Oh, that doesn't look good. Okay, so I'm going to do a countdown, and we're going to start from 0 in the video, and we're going to check out this awesome run. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, the ROM is okay.
ROM okay.
Yeah, so this is the first stage. The difficulty starts out pretty gentle. You can already see that I'm using the charge shot. So you've got the wave cannon where you can tap to fire or hold down to fire off a burst attack.
And then you can charge that to a level 2, right?
Yeah, so if the bar at the bottom is partway along, then it's a medium charge, and if it's all the way at the right, then it's a stronger charge.
Oh, there was no additional charge then?
No, I think it's in, I forget if it's R-Type 2 where there's the second level of charge. I think it's 2 where there's a spread attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, your ship is the R9 Arrowhead, so it's like the first version of the ship, whereas like in the second one, it's like R9C Custom.
I see.
And then R-Type Final, I think there's 2.5 million other ships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
I forgot. So many.
Yeah. Don't get me started. Don't get us started on R-Type Final.
Yes, there's multiple weapon types. Right now we've got the reflect laser, and we've just picked up the first bit. So that floaty thing just above is extra offense, and it'll also destroy enemies that it touches. It doesn't deflect bullets, but it'll keep you safe from little enemies coming from above.
The bits, yep.
Yeah, the bits are important. So this first boss is Dobkeratops. He's probably the most iconic R-Type boss. Looks a little bit like an H.R. Geiger alien, complete with a little face that bursts out of the chest.
It was like the one charge shot and he's done.
Yeah, yeah. If you've played level 1 before, it's a pretty easy one. And you get a score, like a little report card for every stage. Yeah, so stage 2 is a sort of lab where you've got this creepy background, and this is the first stage where things start coming from all sides. So this is a game where, not only are you not safe if you hug the right side of the screen, it's typically not safe to hang out at the top or the bottom or at the left. So they really do come from all sides.
Seems a good spot to be in the middle. I mean, a lot of times that's like a good place to be because nothing can ambush you, right?
Yeah, you have at least a moment to react to everything. Yeah, so these Metroids, get spawned out from the bottom and the top of the screen, while these, I guess, eyeballs or whatever they are fly in from the right. Yeah, these scorpion-type things that fly out diagonally are pretty scary if you don't know where they're coming from, because they tank a few hits before they go down.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, you can see them in the wall a little bit.
Yeah, you can kind of see them wiggling, and you can see, like, oh, something's taking damage.
Some of them look like those ones on the top right there do look buried in such a way that they're trying to trick you.
Yeah. Yeah, so this second boss is this giant shmup snake living inside what looks like an alien heart. And this is already a level where, you know, it is kind of a memorizer. If you know where to go, this is a very easy boss. If you're just playing this casually and you don't know where it's going to come out and where it's going to fly back in, it's pretty terrifying.
So is it taking a set path, the worm here?
Yeah, it'll do the same thing every time. So if you know where it's going to go, you can just go to a safe place and keep shooting. You can wedge yourself just above that eye and just mash the fire button, but the positioning is a little bit tricky. And if you tap down too far, you'll just die by crashing into it.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Battleship stage.
Yes. Yeah, this is just an iconic Battleship stage. There are screen-filling bosses like this in a lot of other shmups, G Darius and UN Squadron and Thunder Force AC, and the final boss of In the Hunt is sort of inspired by this, which makes sense given that I think the main designer of R-Type also did In the Hunt and Metal Slug. It's
Really?
like 3 generations of arcade games.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is a really good example of the Battleship trope. It also looks almost organic. That front of it looks like a face with broken teeth, and as you blow out parts of the undercarriage, it almost looks like rib bones. Maybe that's a stretch, but it's a really cool detailed thing where it's not just pieces get blown off, but you see the destruction.
It's like wires hanging out.
Yeah.
That is some crazy detail.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things that you don't notice the first time you play, like the way the force moves and rotates differently depending on which way you're moving. Here we go, up and over. When you switch the force to the back or the front is a big part of the routing of the stage. So here we want it back on the front again for offense.
So what if you didn't go to the left there? Would you have to wait to get your opportunity, or were you going to get crushed eventually?
Let's see.
Do you remember?
Think you can, I don't remember. I think you can time the boss out eventually if you don't ever go for the core.
But you snuck in at just the first opportunity, it looked like, and
yeah, I think that's the first best opportunity. Yeah, so this stage has the little wall dispensers flying around, so they'll just leave these little trails, and there's more of them and more of them as you go. You can destroy the walls they leave behind with shots, although if you're underpowered, it becomes a little bit harder to eat your way through. And this I think is the difficulty spike, where you really want to know the route through, especially on loop 2-4 is where it was a wall for a while. So here we switch the force to the back and then back to the front. And this is the second chance to pick up a bit. So we'll carry this all the way through. The bits are very important in later stages, especially the last level, which is trivial with 2 bits and tough with 1 bit and really tough with no bits.
Is the missiles power up as well?
Yeah, the missiles, I don't think there's more than 1 level, so it's just you either have them or you don't have them. But yeah, that M power up, they're pretty handy. They are seekers, so they'll take out just popcorn enemies that otherwise would be creeping up on you.
And then the S's are for speed and get your laser red, and then the yellow, right, for the powers.
Yeah, there's this DNA laser, the red one, the up and down kind of air-to-ground laser, the yellow, and then the blue is the reflecting laser.
It's cool balance. So this boss, you're wrecking him here. Oh, man. Wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah, this boss has some RNG, but he's so easy that it doesn't really matter. One thing we won't see in the run, but if you die, you get sent back to a checkpoint, and you start out powered down, naked and alone. And recovery is pretty tough. So when you're first learning the game, getting hit is probably going to end the run. So I do recommend the game, not just as as the iconic historical game it is, but as something that's legit still fun to play. But I recommend learning it using save states. Otherwise, you'll just get punished by getting sent back to stage 1 over and over.
That can be rough in a checkpoint game like this, and the scrolling is pretty slow, and that can be discouraging for sure. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, your speed starts out pretty slow. That's one thing that was present in Gradius and in R-Type and R-Type 2, and I'm kind of glad it went out of style. The idea that you start at a slow speed, and then you have to get a speed power-up to go fast.
Yeah, it is kind of like an old gaming thing at this point.
Yeah, so those snakes will kind of explode if you hit the head, or break if you hit the middle. I lost multiple runs when I blew up those 2 snakes that go top and bottom. The top left corner here is a safe spot on loop 1, but not on loop 2. So we're taking a route that we can use for both loops, where we just kind of hang out around the bottom and go left and right when we need to. These red lasers are not blocked by the Force, so you actually do have to dodge around them.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's the stage 5 boss. This is the most important RNG in the run. Where he goes is random. You have to react to it. So he sends out these kind of boomerang blobs, and they don't go straight back. They'll actually kind of curve back on their way back. So he was very well behaved that time.
Yeah, looked nice. Interesting. So back to a mechanical stage.
Yeah. So stage 6 has this kind of happy or wistful music in it. And this is definitely one where it's more about the obstacle course than it is about the enemies. I mean, they'll still try to kill you, but it's more about avoiding getting crushed by the walls or crushed by the traffic running by. So that's something you tend only to see in horizontals. You can see it in verts sometimes, but I think this Gradius and the Darius and then R-Type kind of set the model for a horizontal shmup in the late 80s. And this is a level where you really do need to pay attention to the walls and know the route through.
Yeah, I like that previous screen where you let those guys go over you in that little spot. Like, that was obviously he had to be in that spot, it looked like.
Yeah, the background here almost looks like some sort of circuit diagram. The whole theme of R-Type is sort of this biomechanical horror where it's biological stuff with robots. It influenced a lot of games. So even in shmups where you didn't see a knockoff of the Force Pod, there's a lot of shmups that were clearly influenced by the feel of R-Type and the kinds of organic bosses that you fight.
Yeah.
So there's some bosses, these last 3 bosses all have safe spots, and we're going to shamelessly use the safe spot here.
This looks good.
You just have to use the charge shot.
Yeah, I like this. I like this strat.
Yeah, if you don't do this, you actually have to dance around quite a bit. Another thing that can be dangerous is if you get too many speed ups. Too many speed pickups can be dangerous, especially in this stage where you have to make some tight moves and squeeze through some tight spots. I think I stick with 2. If you get too many and you're not used to it, that's trouble.
Okay. So how many more stages are in this loop?
So this is stage 7 out of 8. And if we clear this one with 2 bits, then we're home free, at least until the loop. You'll see these blue explosions from the walls, the floors and ceilings. Those will kill you, and that's an easy way to get trapped when you're first learning this level.
Are you blowing up the walls, or are they just blowing up on their own?
It seems like they just sort of blow up on their own. We're in sort of this ruined, I don't know exactly what's going on here, but you sort of see the trash or remains of a lot of enemies at the end. You can either blow up the boss or wait for R2 to shut down all the trash compactors. You've got the Force that you're using, so there's already some Star Wars references.
I see. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So this is a nice little spot to hang out where the floor blocks the shots, and then these guys from above, you do want to kill them all before they come from behind and try and shoot you. And then this can be a dangerous spot, but the blue lasers do a good job of taking out everything down below. Now we just have to worry about this guy from the right who'll fire a big fast burst at us. And there's multiple safe spots here. This is the one that I learned first and got used to, so this is where I go.
Looks good. Nice.
Yeah,
those so lasers just don't going crazy back there. Yeah, you're making it really look like you're in control in this run.
Yeah, this is after a lot of practice. So I would do an attempt and then practice the 2-5 boss over and over for 20 minutes, and then I would do another attempt. This last stage, as long as you have both bits, is super, super easy. I think it was Chambers who had a video where he literally fast forwards with the emulator through most of this stage. You can just sort of hang out and trust your bits and your shots and your missiles to kill all these sort of alien baby things that are flying at you from the top and the bottom.
Yeah, weird. Like little frog guys or something. Like what the heck is that, Kermit?
Hi-ho!
The fuck? They look so weird.
Yeah, so this last boss sort of looks like he's cross-legged and just staring at you. There's a safe spot at the top left, at least for a while. So we're just going to wait and fire the Force in when he opens up.
Cool.
So this is the easy way to do it if you've got 2 bits. If you've got 1 bit, you can do the sort of easy way, which is just hang out at the left and kill things until the vortexes kind of go aggro and chase you, and then you just lead them around in a circle until he auto-destructs. The really hard way to do it, which is what you have to do if you have no bits, is just fire your Force inside and then just literally dodge and shoot everything that comes at you, which requires really fast reactions.
Yeah, I've seen a video of Tivix doing that back a while ago.
Oh yeah,
pretty impressive.
It's super impressive, especially on the second loop.
Oh yeah, I think it must have been on the second loop too.
Yeah, I've done the spin to win strat with 1 bit several times, but never the 0-bit strat.
So they spelled Bido with the E there. Bide.
Yeah, there's multiple misspellings.
Bide.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a R-Type memorial file book in Japanese that has kind of lots of cool stuff, and one of the footnotes they bring up is, they kept misspelling Bido in different ways.
They're proud of that one.
Yeah, so now we're in the second loop. From the translated interview, there was a quote from Abiko saying, "We didn't really want to make a second loop, but we added it as a service to our fans. We raised the difficulty extremely high, so please don't worry too much and play it however you'd like." we figured that if we had to make a second loop, we'd try and make it something where dying was part of the fun. That stage 5 boss in the second loop is one where if you slip up just a bit, it gets crazy, and if you die, I think it's almost impossible to recover.
Okay.
The most obvious thing... Oh, before we go, if you look at these things, they look like derpy faces that are rotated 90 degrees. These guys just scrolled off to the left. Kind of giant teeth.
Oh, I missed it.
We'll see them again just after the boss. Yeah,
so, the bullets are faster here, eh? And what else is different?
Yeah, the bullets are faster. Things shoot more bullets. They generally hate you more. One of the really obvious differences is certain things have way more hit points. So most things are still die in one hit, but there are certain enemies that became super tanky in the second loop. The sort of Metroids in stage 2 and one chunk of the Battleship in stage 3. So it's pretty much more hit points for certain things. Lots of if you wiggle, you can get the bits to dance around pretty crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, so once you have a route that works, you'll be pretty safe on both loops. There are certain things you can get away with on the first loop that the second loop will punish you for. The first boss, you'll notice he actually has a shot here, and that control you. Because you're used to dodging the big bullets and dodging the tail, and then suddenly there are these single aimed shots going for you.
Shooting that from his tail, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, here's the faces. Oh, we just got a glimpse of them.
Those did look pretty dirty. It's like sleeping.
So how many speed ups do you usually get?
I usually do 2. I know some people recommend 3. Stage 6 is just too scary for me if I get more than that. One bit of trivia is apparently the hitbox for your ship is just 1 pixel, except the hurt boxes for everything extend farther than you'd think. So basically the hitbox acts just like it's your whole ship.
Whoa. I never would have thought that.
Yeah, so big, tiny hitbox, but big hurt boxes. All right, here's the super tanky jellyfish Metroid things. Takes a lot longer to get rid of them in the second loop. And these green shots that are coming from the right, they can change direction and fly forward at you. So that's a risk you take if you don't pay attention to them. Yeah, so we're just kind of herding them around, enjoying the slowdown, trying not to get crushed.
Yeah, those things... Were they in the first loop, those green guys?
They were there, but they died pretty fast. They didn't hang around
so now they're pestering you. Interesting.
Yeah.
that is kind of interesting. They look pretty... Like, it doesn't go the same way every time type of enemy. Because you're pushing them around and your shots aren't always going the same place. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, you really want to be consistent and know what's going to happen. So even when you're not really in danger, it's really scary to have things not going exactly according to plan.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So according to an interview, the original inspiration for the Force Pod was a dung beetle. Like the idea that you'd be a beetle pushing this thing around and this separate thing would upgrade.
Freaking dung beetles and shmups, man.
My favorite pet theory is that R-type comes from biology, where some organisms are K-type, where they invest a lot in their babies, and some are R-type, where they just have millions of babies and hope for the best. But according to the interview, the R just stands for ray, because you fire different kinds of rays and lasers.
There was another tidbit of info about that name on the Wikia page. They said the R-type refers to the round canopy.
Yeah, I think everyone has their theory, but at least from what it said on Shmuplations, it was literally just R for Ray.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the exhaust at the very back of the battleship had lots of extra hit points. That's the other really obvious hit point difference in the second loop. Another thing is that there are some cannons up ahead on the right that respawn on the second loop, whereas on the first loop, once they're gone, they're gone. So I'm sticking with a route where I just don't bother trying to take them out. I just try to run past them and hightail it up to the top. Yeah, so you see there, that guy at the bottom is just respawning.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, so I was trying to brainstorm a list of kind of R-Type knockoffs, like games that were clearly R-Type inspired. I think Polestar is one that's really good. Rezon, Zexx, Last Resort, X Multiply, which is also by IREM, kind of a spiritual successor to R-Type 2.
Yeah, that's a good bunch of them for sure. There's got to be more though. There's got to be like some janky ones, some bootlegs and whatnot. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think even if a game's not like an R-Type knockoff, there's probably a lot of games where different ideas like Shmup Snakes or the Giant Battleship or just other enemy formations were probably inspired either directly or indirectly from R-Type.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-4 is a bump up in difficulty. So when I was practicing Loop 2, this is the first stage that I really needed to relearn and reroute.
Yeah, that got crazy right there.
Yeah, they're not holding back on the bullets.
Like you were in the right place and everything, but I was scared because this was like they were surrounding you.
Yeah, and there's a really short safe spot here where you just cower in the corner and then start clearing out the field. The up here at the top, so these guys move faster. Here at the top, these little guys were giving me a lot of trouble, so I changed the route to include firing the force back at them.
You handled that really well, I gotta say.
Yeah, so here's Compiler is the stage 4 boss.
Oh yeah, that's right. All these bosses have like something.
Yeah, they all have official names.
One that was like Branco or something.
Yeah, Bronco on level 7.
Yeah.
Bronco.
The whole list.
So weird.
Yeah, this is a stage where I practiced the recovery a lot of times because the 2-5 boss is so hard. The recovery is something that's going to come up if you start playing it and trying to get consistent clearing.
That's a good thing to let people know. Like practice the recovery, like a recovery that in a place where you actually think you'll die.
Yeah, it's a
good idea.
Yeah, the checkpoint's just a little bit further ahead. One other way this stage can troll you is you really want the DNA laser power-up for the next stage and not the yellow power-ups they keep dropping. Just before the boss, there's a carrier that drops. Oh yeah, here's the oh shit part where don't shoot, now shoot. Yeah, just before the boss, the carrier can end up dropping that yellow power-up in a place where after the boss dies, when you just go fly on autopilot to the place where you pose during the score count up, you'll pick up the power-up and then be stuck with it. I just saw somebody on Discord complaining that he lost a run that way.
Grundle or whatever.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to lose a run. Yeah, so these guys are way more aggressive in the second loop. So you just have to lead them around, route them around. you get multiple score-based extends, which is kind of sadistic because if you die and you don't know the recoveries, it's probably all over anyway. So that was a pretty good orbit around the boss.
Nice. Yeah, it looks kind of tricky.
But yeah, his moves are such that you sort of want to just circle around him, but you can't always just complete your circle. You might have to double back through a gap in those enemies. Yeah, so now these kind of crawlers on the floor and ceiling shoot a bit more often, so you have to pay a little bit more attention to that. The route through the traffic is about the same.
Those bullets are pretty quick.
Yeah, they fire on a regular pattern once they start, so it's sort of like Raiden, where you sort of subconsciously notice when they're firing, and you dodge from the bullet you know is going to come.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so you don't actually have to have super fast reaction times on this. After you know what's coming, you kind of can count it out mentally and say, okay, he's going to shoot now, he's going to shoot now.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to keep in mind learning any shmup. Because knowing that rhythm can save your ass so often, I've noticed.
Yeah, other than Stage 5, this is a game you can play without needing great reaction times or reflexes. You just need to learn the way through.
Yeah. Seems like that's like a lot of the fun is learning the way through, is it not?
It is, yeah. And I routed the first loop myself. It was when I started practicing Loop 2 that I started peeking at other people's replays and adapting my route. So it's not identical to anybody else's, but there's definitely things that I stole from watching other people's routes through.
Yeah. It's like when we watch your run here, it's like we don't see your evolution, or anyone's evolution. Like this is like the final product, but like the interesting part is actually learning it.
Yeah. This
boss
is,
I guess you know what I mean.
Yeah. This boss is Doprosh, apparently.
Doprosh.
Doprosh.
Like Porsche.
Gonna drive in my Doprosh, guys.
Yeah, this came out the same year as Mr. Heli's Adventure, or Battle Chopper, also by IRAM, which which became incredibly obscure compared to R-Type, but it's also a solid game. So if you like R-Type, there's a decent chance you'll like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting game. I played it briefly.
Yeah, it's much less of a memorizer. It's more frantic, but it's also got shops. Feels a little bit like Fantasy Zone and R-Type had a baby.
It's so weird how on this stage you have these walls that are like broken, but like beneath the broken metallic walls is like another metallic innard.
Yeah.
It's like it's powering the base or something. It's a good, it seems to be enforcing the idea of the biology and the mechanical, like mixing together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one way it's a little bit like Star Wars is it's a science fiction world, but it's not all shiny and polished and new. There's stuff that's rusted and destroyed and old, but still science fiction-y.
Yeah, really interesting stages.
Yeah, these guys shoot a lot more in the loop.
Yeah.
But the boss safe spot is still safe. So if you get to right about here, you're home free.
Very nice.
Because you can just park in this safe spot, and then the last stage is still trivial if you've got 2 bits.
Do. That boss theme is so good too.
Oh yeah, the music throughout R-Type is really solid. It's not necessarily something you want to listen to on its own, but it fits the stages super well. Yeah. The composer was S-C-L-A-P, S-Clap, which looks like it's just English, but apparently it's because he really liked Eric Clapton. So the clap is an homage to Clapton.
That's kind of weird to hear from like the composer of R-Type.
Yeah.
Like random. That's kind of random.
Yeah, R-Type. I don't think we got into all the ports, but this was ported to almost everything. I think there's like 20 different systems it's ported to.
Yeah, the Wikipedia didn't. Yeah, the Wikipedia didn't even bother listing any of the ports. It just said lots of ports.
There's a whole book written by one of the programmers of the ZX Spectrum port. So if you're interested in the Spectrum, that might be a really interesting read.
Yeah, I mean Gradius as well got a ton of ports. I mean, but this game is this game too.
Yeah,
maybe R-Type even more though.
Yeah,
probably.
I think like even on the TurboGrafx 16, it's like the Japanese version had like a Q card release where it's like split into 2 parts. Then for the North American release, it becomes 1 card, and then later on they decide, why don't we port this again to the TurboGrafx like CD and put in like these cutscenes and like cheesy ass music.
Oh yeah, I had to do that, right? God, that sounds really interesting now that you mention it. Oh, that's a sweet explosion.
But yeah, this guy is super tense. Like even though you know you're safe, it's pretty exciting to just keep mashing. You can hold your charge here for no good reason, and then release it anytime during the credits.
Oh, funny. So that strat you use on that boss, like it doesn't work if you use the same position but on the bottom.
I don't know if it works on the bottom. Oh yeah, I see in chat. You have to move your bits forward to not die for that to be totally safe. I've always just parked at the top left and been safe, but I think I was I guess lucky enough that it never happened. So yeah, that's the end of stage 2. Your comrades, who were no help during the main game, by the way, but they they flay by with you.
They leave you behind. It's like game over. You have no friends.
Go home.
Yeah, and in R-Type 2, you get to rescue them from the final boss.
Ooh, 7 inputs for the name.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so
I like that score breakdown.
Yeah, so if you're playing for score, the strat is you keep dying on 1-7 or maybe 2-7 and replaying from the checkpoint and almost timing the boss out and milking it for score, and then dying and then doing it over and over. So this of course, this was not a score run. I was just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Checkpoint milking for final bosses is kind of tedious anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, great run, man. Good job on that. That was cool. That was very cool.
Yeah, I love this game. I know this is one that means a lot to a lot of people, so it was really fun to get to cover it. I've run a few games that I've seen on STG Weekly, so maybe now someone will pick up R-Type and run it, and the circle of life will be complete.
Yeah, yep. We're just working on the circle of life here. God. Well, I mean, yeah, I feel like we could even do something maybe in the future where we talk about a lot of the other ports, or maybe something special about some of the other versions, or any versions that are special. Because yeah, like the TurboGrafx CD with the cutscenes, like those have to be really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know if they added characters too, Maximo?
Yeah, I believe there's like additional background info, but the problem is that it's like voice acting's in Japanese, so we need a translator.
Oh, okay. No, like terrible TurboGrafx English voice acting. God, that's some of the worst voice acting ever. God.
I'm just thinking of Polestar and its little mini cutscenes with random anime pilot.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think like the reason the ports don't get mentioned as much is because like either a lot of them are like stripped down adaptations, or they just don't really, or they're not like as arcade accurate as they could have been. Like I think that happens to the R-Types port on PS1, where it's like almost arcade perfect, but not quite.
Oh,
Really? What was the? Do you know what the difference was?
Well, I think one of them was like because R-Type 1, this weird resolution where it's like 384 times 256, but it runs at like 55 FPS as opposed to like 60 on the PS1 ports. So, I mean, also is the case for the R-Type 2 port on that R-Types compilation.
Yeah. Yeah, R-Types is kind of like the modern release of these games, I guess. The compilation.
Yeah. And that's probably what the PSN ports are based off of, if I recall. Or any.
Yeah, and in that you could like freely toggle a 3D to 2D mode, I think was the gimmick there.
Really? Huh.
I think so. And that R-Type wasn't it? Wait, was it R-Type Dimensions? Was it actually called that, or was that R-Types? I can't remember.
On PSP, but the one you're probably thinking of is Delta on PS1.
Delta, yeah, no, that's completely different.
Oh yeah, Delta.
Dimension is the like HD sorts of remake on the PSP.
Oh, it was on the PSP, really?
I think so. I will double check.
R-Type Dimensions is on 360 PS3. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I thought R-Types and R-Type Dimensions were the same thing, but maybe I don't know. Maybe they are in some way.
It's a bit confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked R-Type Leo. I know a lot of people think it's not a real R-Type because you don't get the force pod. But I liked that better than hot take. I like that better than R-Type 2.
Interesting.
Yeah, Leo is cool. It's kind of like a casual arcade shmup, but then it gets really hard later on.
I think it's pretty easy to clear, even like playing the Japanese version, because I know on the world version you get like instantaneous respawns, so you can kind of cheese a little bit of the last stage.
Yeah, Leo, the world version, is a way easier 1cc, at least for me, than R-Type.
But yeah, tons of R-Type stuff out there, and I'm sure we'll revisit R-Type series in some regard. But this was the original.
This is where it all started.
I mean, with Gradius and R-Type, like it's like which side do you take? I always felt like you had to take sides or something. But for me, like Gradius is always Gradius has like the better gameplay in my opinion, but R-Type has the setting like just in spades over Gradius. Like Gradius couldn't even do the detail. I would imagine that R-Type has. So I think that kind of has that over that, and in that it inspired a lot of stuff, because I mean the environments weren't as inspiring in Gradius. I mean, it was just your basic landscapes and then the Moai heads, but R-Type definitely a lot more fully fledged with the artwork design and stuff. I think that's really what makes it stand out. I mean, it stands the test of time too. Looks great still, I think.
Yeah, like you can look at any stage on R-Type and you wouldn't confuse it with any other part of the game. They're all very distinctive, each have their own soundtrack.
Okay, so unless anyone has anything else to mention, we can wrap up this episode for 141. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to gaztv-inc for the artwork that's displayed on stream right now. The artwork of the boss there, and he said in this artwork, he said this was him playing R-Type. Like he felt like he was just getting blown up and falling out of his ship and getting wrecked basically left and right. And I thought it was a pretty cool artwork. So shouts to that guy who drew this awesome picture of him just having struggles with R-Type. But hey, I'm probably gonna let him know that we did this episode, and hey, maybe he'll take on the challenge and he'll make a new artwork where he's kicking ass.
You can do it. You can do it, Gaz TV. We believe in you.
Yeah, I don't know. I got that. It's got the DeviantArt logo, like watermark, which I thought is a nice touch. But yeah, I just got to give him a quick shout out because I am using the artwork. But yeah, okay, so that's gonna do it for the episode. Till next time, everyone, and yeah, give R-Type a try, and don't be afraid to try using some save states and figure it out on your own, I guess.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And if you are gonna try to beat it on your own without save states, well, man, I don't know. Like, I'd have to imagine in the arcades when this game was popular, people got good at it fast because they watched other people play it, and that's how they were able to memorize the stages easier. But when you're just alone and you don't have that, like, ugh. Like, you gotta imagine that some of the arcade games were designed in that way. Like, that was part of the reason why it was like a memorizer. Kind of going off on another tangent here, but I think it's
the trial and error, and then like if you die in like 2-7, then it's like 25 minutes to get back to where you were. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's video games. Yeah. But thanks again, Dumple-chan, for coming on. Pleasure to have you, as usual.
Thanks for having me on.
And that'll do it. So yeah, take care, everyone.
See you later.